Michael Brown.
Good morning, Your Honor. Here in this matter, we have a fully negotiated disposition in the court accept.
I ask for you to acknowledge we are very full of course with you, Mr. Brown, just want to.
I was basically asking the complaint be amended to a straight to DWI offense. Just the body, I just need to change from 0.06 or later to later.
With that amendment, you've gone over the complaint with counsel, he explained to you the elements of the offense. He told you what the state would have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt if you went to trial, correct? And you pleaded guilty to this offense? Mr. Brown, you went over this acknowledgement and waiver of your rights with counsel? And he gave you a good and thorough explanation of the constitutional rights and the other information there? You need me to read through that again with you? Mr. Russell explained to you some of the consequences if you were to have yet another offense like this in the future. And with, this is the first offense otherwise anyway.
It's true first.
Right, so you know that there'd be a mandatory jail sentence if you had another year, not even 10 years. If you were convicted of operating while under suspension for DWI, even if drugs and alcohol or other prohibited substances weren't, even if they weren't involved, it'd still be a mandatory jail sentence. And it's a major conviction when you're driving like that. Any habitual issues there?
No,
You have any questions for me?
no, Your Honor.
Is a guilty plea made lawful?
Have you stated with sufficient facts?
Right, the fine is $620. Are you able to pay that today?
You will.
And the 12.
Fellow lost license right to restore after 6 months. It's
Okay.
just the additional amendment that different from the ordinary sentencing law.
All right, so at the 6-month mark, you're able to apply for restoration. Some things you need to do to be eligible for that. You refer to an impaired driver care management program. So there's an impaired driver education program you have to do, number 1. And number 2, you have to submit within 14 days to a drug and alcohol screening. If that results in the likelihood of a substance use disorder, then you have to go to an evaluation within 30 days. Understand that? You need to meet those deadlines in order to be eligible for restoration. When you're in compliance, you can file a request with the court to take to DMV, but until DMV gives you the okay, you can't drive again. Understood? Okay, just go out to the window, pay your fine, and give you some other paperwork, and try to answer all your questions out there.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have a good morning.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Zachary Campos.
Just someone step out, I don't know if I'm just grab his.
I'll step out here on the second.
Okay, thanks.
Compost, you said?
Campos.
Yes.
Second, we worked out, or
It is, Your Honor, he's just filling out the,
why don't we get started and then we can interrupt at some point along the way? Okay. We'll start your travel, I'll interrupt to take care of this other. Oh, here you go. Are we down to which charges here?
the state's going to know across the suspended registrations, it's going to be to Class B on the out after, and reduce the possession of marijuana to a violation.
All right, so the suspended registration is going to be dismissed. The marijuana possession charge is being reduced to a non-criminal offense. Do you understand that? This is from January 11th on Lower Main Street. On the same occasion, it's alleged that you operated a motor vehicle, Toyota, number 1. Number 2, you were on a way or a road in New Hampshire, that would be Lower Main Street in Keene. And 3rd, that you're on a suspension at the time. It's also alleged that this was a subsequent offense. The state has to also prove beyond reasonable doubt that you acted knowingly, which means that you knew you were on a road, you knew you were driving a vehicle, and you knew you were under suspension. And you pleaded guilty to that one as well, correct? This is the second major conviction for you within a short period of time. Any other red flags in the record?
There's just one other moving violation, I believe, so I did advise him that he was close.
All right, you are pretty close to habitual offender certification. That's a DMV administrative proceeding. It's not a court issue. You understand that? But another major offense could put you over the top. You gotta be careful. You have until sometime in 2018 before you get that other one behind you. Any questions at this point? And you did 2 acknowledgements here. Okay, and you go over some of this information with you. You're giving up, first of all, your right to a lawyer. None of these qualify you for appointed counsel. But you've had plenty of time to get advice from an attorney if you wanted it. And you're ready to resolve these cases today without any further assistance, correct? You're giving up these rights. You have a right to a speedy and public trial. That would have been, actually, you had it scheduled for last month, but would be rescheduling today. And that would be your opportunity to see and hear and question the witnesses against you. You have a right to remain silent at any hearing. No one can force you to testify. It's a decision you take on your own. You have the right to put on a defense, even if you didn't testify, but you had witnesses or evidence that you wanted the court to consider, you could have done that. You're giving up your right to challenge any part of the case. If you don't think the police should have stopped you, asked you questions, gathered evidence from you, if you think your rights weren't honored, you could have brought that to the court's attention and challenged it. And if you lost either of these cases, you could have appealed the outcome, but that would be to the state Supreme Court, a legal question. You don't get a new trial at that level. You understand that? And no matter what happens to DMV, if you have yet another op-ed suspension within 7 years, that again could be brought as a misdemeanor. You understand that? Do you have any questions now? And the reason for the stop was what here?
The reason for the stop was an expired inspection sticker on his vehicle. After that, the officer stopped him. The vehicle had just been put back on the road. It was still in a state of some disrepair. Occurred on Lower Main Street near Route 32 Keene. The officer approaching the vehicle, he was presented a driver's license, identified him as compost. Turned out upon running it that the registrations were under suspension for default as well as his motor vehicle. His address that he was currently living at was the address listed in the DMV. Mr. Compost claimed that he never got notice, but someone must have been stealing his mail. There's no indication of any return on his DMV vehicle. Mr. Compost was taken into custody based on his driving after suspension on the second offense. His first offense was a conviction. First conviction was April 24, 2013, within the time frame. And upon searching Mr. Campos' incident to arrest, Glass Pipe was some marijuana residues.
Did you plead guilty to the charge? Okay. What's the disposition here?
On the violation, possession of marijuana, we would ask for the standard fine of $350 plus penalty assessment. On the driving, we would ask for a $1,000 fine, all that suspended for a year of good behavior and no moving violations.
Is your understanding of what would be recommended here? I think you agree with that disposition. All right, so the fine on the one is $434. Are you able to pay that today?
No.
And I take it you're waiving any of the fees for not appearing at trial?
There was no witness fees
Was not?
for the
Okay.
state, and the lab doesn't charge.
Okay.
The only thing would be is non-appearance.
Right. So when do you think you'll be able to pay that?
Within a month.
Every day will be enough time? You have to do a time payment agreement outside and take care of that. On the operating after revocation charge, usually there's a $310 fine, but there's a $1,000 fine in this case, and that's all suspended. Suspended for a year on your good behavior and no moving violations during that 1 year period. Any questions now? All right, just go to the window, you have some paperwork to take care of out there, and you'll be all set.
Yeah.
Stay here.